Hello, everyone. My name is Nelson Ayer, and I'm here with my friend.
I'm Parish Torch.
And this is Mega Man Battle Network 6, Psy Beast Gregar. So, in between this episode 7 and the previous episode, episode 6, I wandered around, cleaned up a couple things off to the side. I now have 200 max HP because I bought some HP memories from the first net merchant in Central 1. And so I'm a little bit tougher, and I did that because honestly, I'm not a fan of this dungeon and wanted a little bit more power before coming back in here. I also took some time to grind out some Train Arrow 1 chips so that I can demonstrate their awesome power before I completely renovate the folder coming up here really soon. So, the gimmick of this dungeon is that all of the fish that belonged in the tanks here in the digital space have escaped out into other parts of the compound here. And if we grab them and bring them back, they'll be chased by sharks. The wrinkle in all of this is the fish programs don't entirely remember what they are and what they're supposed to be. So grabbing them and bringing them back to the tanks is a little bit more difficult than one would perhaps expect. But the other fun thing I discover is if all fish have not fired their shots when they've been counter hit and stunned, the fish will keep firing until everyone is out of stun and has fired their shot. So that was an interesting thing to discover as part of my playing here. Another thing I had at the end of my hand there for the battle is I had an Invis Star chip. Invis Star is my preferred form of defense in this game because it just makes you intangible to most attacks. There are a couple that can hit through it, but they're very few and far between, and they're generally easy to dodge or plan around anyway, so it's a very strong chip. So that right there was the Train Arrow chip. It creates an arrow on every square that's between you and whatever you're fighting, and then they all sort of fly forward. So even though its base power is 30, you can very easily stack up a lot of damage, especially if you can stack it with, say, attack plus 10 or attack plus 30 or something like that. So now that I've sort of got all of that out of the way, well, more, if you can recall when we were forced to go and examine all the exhibits, some of them talked about, say, hey, I ate a cow once. A whole swarm of this fish devoured a cow. So you gotta remember which one it is, and then you gotta, run around and deliver it. And as you can see here, the sharks are a little bit quick. You have to sort of figure out where they spawn, where you need to go so that you avoid them as they come towards you, and then just kind of figure out your way back to the beginning. The sort of red sharks there move a little bit faster, but they have a slightly different AI than the other ones, so they don't chase you in quite the same way. But yeah, the aquarium compound, I don't like it very much because of how easy it is to just get dunked by the sharks. The nice thing about it, though, is whenever you have a program following you around, you do not get into random encounters. So you can always focus on just the sharks, and then as you're moving around, you don't have to worry about the sharks at all, so you just go, and it's fine.
Do you get any of the animals wrong putting them back in their tanks?
Here's a spoiler alert, but yes, I do get an animal wrong at one point. So we will see the penalty for that soon.
I figured I'd ask because otherwise I was going to say that I really enjoyed what happens if you don't. So now we'll get to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it might make you happy, but it makes me thoroughly displeased. So it'll be shown off. You can relish in my suffering. Also, I like how the two sharks are just like, oh, he's got a program with him. Let's go get him. Also, part of the fun here is I think for some of these, like, I vaguely remember what fish is supposed to go where, or what fish I even have, or what the descriptions are. So I'm like, wait, is this where it's supposed to be? And there, I was sort of gambling, like, I think this is it, but I'm not quite sure. And let's just go with it. And I'm very glad that one was correct because I'm not a fan of this place at all. But yeah, me grinding out Train Arrow 1 chips before coming here was, maybe there were other things I could have done with this time because look at all these fish. There are so many piranhas here. And yeah, I spent a little bit of time just shuffling around where I want to go, and I'm like, oh no, this is, yep.
Nailed it.
Got dunked on. Also, as we can see there, the Train Arrow chip removed the ice panel because the first hit of Train Arrow, since it's a water-based attack, froze the piranha in place, but then the second it killed it, so we couldn't see the animation of the ice sort of bricked up around the fish. So later on, I'm definitely gonna, well, goodbye, Mr. Prague. I'm definitely gonna have to build a folder to exploit what happens when you combine ice and breaking chips. But that day is not today. I don't think I even have any breaking chips so far. But yeah, it's sort of a chase around where you think the sharks will be, where they're currently at, to make sure that you can deliver the program safely. And you look at this and you see Aquarium Compound 1 here, and you think, oh yeah, this isn't going to be that bad. Guess what, buddy? There are 3 aquarium compounds. There's a lot of this.
Yeah.
I also think, oh, what does Mr. Prague have to say? Whoops. Here's a fight. Well, yep. I learned the counter timing, but I still got dunked on anyway.
Now, you were talking about taking advantage of some of the terrain effects, like the ice or other things, combining with the elements of chips that you're using there. That was one of the things that I definitely loved about having some of the styles in the older games, which has now been replaced by the cross system, essentially. But having the styles, that was just something that was permanently on Mega Man for every battle that you entered.
Yep.
And so you could always guarantee on having certain effects to manipulate certain elements around.
Yep.
So that was very useful.
Yeah, and what element you sort of had would definitely sort of affect how you sort of played in certain areas. Also, look at that puffer fish right there. He's so big. He's definitely not happy to be here, but I'm able to get the counter hit at least, so I'm happy to see him. But yeah, the panel effects in the old games that had styles in them were lava panels, and fire styles could walk over top of lava panels without taking damage. There were grass panels, which would slowly restore HP of wood styles. There were ice panels, which are still in this game, and you can slip and slide all over them unless you're an aqua style. And then there was electric styles, and depending upon the game, there might be panels for them, there might not be. There are magnet panels in Battle Network 2, and oops, stayed just a little bit too long in the center row there and gave him the idea. The Buster Up chip is a chip that increases the power of your Buster by 1 for the course of the single battle. So if I shot the starfish down there after 1 Buster Up, it would take 3 damage. It makes the charge shot hit for 30. It's, kind of useful, but not necessarily at the moment here. But anyway, back to styles and panels. In Battle Network 2, there were magnet panels, which I described in a previous episode. And then in Battle Network 3, they just completely removed the magnet panels, and they replaced them with metal panels. Metal panels just could not be broken by effects like Cannonball or anything like that. They did not increase the damage of electric chips, though, because they realized after Battle Network 2 that electric chips were already crazy powerful, and maybe we don't need to double damage of them. But yeah, here's the point where I'm sort of confused about which fish it is. And I'm like, let's just try this tank. Let's see what happens.
Turtles live for a long time, right?
Yeah, they live for a long time. Totally. This is the... uh-oh. Yeah, he just completely forgets what he is. The klaxon goes off, and then it's going to try to delete. It doesn't delete the animal program. No, it tries to delete me. And I get these Quaker guys, and I'm not happy to see them at all.
Unless they're serving you oatmeal, you don't want to mess with the Quakers.
Nope, sure don't. But even still, these guys show up, and they're kind of annoying to fight. They're kind of annoying for me to counter hit time, because you have to be standing in front of them to counter hit them, but their shockwave goes fast and hits in front of them. But I think about it, I think about what the time it'll take to run back, and I just reset the game.
At least we got to show off what happens when you get it wrong.
Oh, it won't be the first time. It won't be the only time. But no, apparently...
I remember. I forget.
Yep. But instead, it's the Nautilus that lives for a very long time. I'm a Nautilus, wee. Yeah, they have a little bit of fun with some of the ways that the animal programs talk to you as they are put back in their tanks. And for all of the minimum of characterization they get, they have a little bit of fun at the very least.
Did you have to do something similar with the zoo section in Battle Network 3 for Beastman?
Yep.
I seem to remember that involving viruses that represented certain types of food, and then you had to find the animal that actually ate that food.
It sort of depended, because there was a jar virus that you had to get an octopus to, where the octopus would put itself inside the jar and expand until it broke it. Some of them were really, really strange. And then there were points where you had to grab 2 of the animal programs and bring them over to eat the food. But yeah, this is fast barrier or first barrier. The nice thing about fast or first barrier is, and then I struggled to remember how to exit. It didn't show up on Mega Man there, but I tried to look at it and I'm like, okay, well it's shown over there, but it didn't show up on Mega Man. Whenever you enter battle, you start with a barrier. This barrier will protect you from, generally speaking, 1 attack. I think it has 10 HP, so it can take a couple buster shots, but there isn't really anything in this game that will be blocked for more than 1 hit by the barrier, you know? So, you gotta
as you point out, you use a reflector that technically blocks damage, it still counts as hitting your barrier.
Yep. But they're useful because I'll generally make only 1 mistake. Also, I look up there and I see in the bottom left corner, oh, there's something. What could that be? How do I get there? Oh, right, that's how I got into this area. Whoops. And then I just keep going on to the program. Oops.
Yeah, fairly straight shot through at least.
Yep. But yeah, we've been distracted a couple times from styles and stuff, but I like how they said for the King Crab, oh yeah, they think I'm a little bit hot, and then you bring him back and he's like, bow down to me, peasants.
Absolutely.
Yep. And yet another distraction from talking about styles of panels in the previous games.
Good stuff.
Yep. Battle Network 3 introduced sand panels, which slowed down your movement, but also they could be blown around to do extra damage by, like, the wind battle chip, or if you used a tornado on a panel with sand on it, it would double the damage. So there were, like, on GameFAQs, there was the renowned folder fact, where it would talk about, like, oh yeah, people made these folders, and they're pretty good. One of them was a tornado folder that could do, like, 4,000 damage in a single attack if you set everything up with the sand stage properly and all that. So, oh, look at me. I'm getting cornered. Well, bye.
Although we had a very good example of the speed levels of the 2 types of sharks.
Yeah, we sure did. Because one of them was able to circle around and I was able to see it, where the other one just wasn't able to keep up. But yeah, styles in those games were also interesting because they were a set change that you bring into every battle, whereas the cross system in this game allows you to sort of mix and match depending upon the specific virus encounter you're facing. Styles in Battle Network 2 came in Guts, which doubled your Buster's power but reduced its speed to 1, but at the same time it also did more damage. Well, no, it didn't do that. It just doubled your attack power, lowered your rapid to 1. And in that game, like, all of the Buster stats were increased by something called a power-up. Also, hey, there's a little submarine in there. How cute. But, so you could just power up your power stat, and then you didn't have to worry about rapid at all because you've got a gut style. It never goes above 1 anyway. Then there was the shield style, which started with a barrier like I'm currently starting with, and in addition to that, you could press left and B and you could throw up a shield whenever you wanted to. I was never good at the timing, so I never used it.
Yeah, nor was I.
Yep. And then there was team style, which allowed you to put 8 mega chips in your folder as opposed to 5. The only mega chip I currently have in the folder is roll, so I wouldn't be able to make use of team at this time. It might have been 7, it might have been 8. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. I think it was 8. And then there was the custom style. My favorite, the style that sort of influenced me throwing up 1,000,000 chips every time I try to start a battle. The custom style started you with 7 battle chips, and it was really nice to just start with 7 because it was just like, okay, you know, I get stuck at 5, the codes don't match very well, so I can't dump my entire folder. But even going up to 7 is really good. The other nice thing about that game is it still had the add feature, so you could just pick a bunch of chips that you didn't really care about, slam the add button, and then wait around for another turn to just get that garbage out of there and give yourself up to 10 chips. there's a secret style in 2 called hub style, which we'll sort of figure out the meaning of that name later. But it combined every single style into one while also having your HP. The other thing is it sort of strengthened what the custom style did, and I think it might have strengthened the team style too. Team style might have been 7, and then hub style was 8 mega chips, but hub style blew custom style out of the water because it went from 7 chips to a full 10. It was insanely powerful, and hub style was your reward for S ranking every single Navi that you could fight in the game, with the exception of maybe the secret one, the one. And then Mega Man Battle Network 3 came around, and they introduced the Navi Customizer, so instead of the styles being innately so strong, some of their abilities became Navi Customizer effects, and then you could sort of add it in, take it away as you so fit. Here I am adding HP plus 50, so now I have 270 max HP, but it doesn't restore all that HP. I've got to get it back by using recovery chips. But in that game, they added 2 new styles. The Shadow style, which its charge shot turned it invisible, and then it also learned anti-damage when you press left and B instead of a shield, and then it also learned float shoes and maybe air shoes, I think. It was version exclusive to Battle Network 3 Blue, so I never got to see all that much of it. And then white version got ground style, which gave you Navi Customizer abilities that let you set the stage to whatever panels you wanted at the start. And the interesting thing about it is it would only turn normal panels to that new color, to that new panel type. So in this battle, I could start with, say, the entire field being grass, which was really helpful for wood styles. But if, like, the entire field started as sand, it wouldn't have any effect. So ground style was very useful for getting yourself access to those programs, not necessarily as useful otherwise. But yeah,
I think the 2 styles that I played with the most often, just the ones that I got and kind of stuck with because I didn't want to take a bunch of time to specifically try and game the system and get specific ones. I think I got wood ground and wood custom. And that's what I used the majority of the time.
Yep. For me, what I ended up doing is cycling through custom style a couple of times, because once you master a custom style, you are given... So there I go. I guess wrong again. I'm just like, nope, not dealing with this. Immediately.
I mean, I can follow your train of logic. You know, I didn't remember exactly what he said, but like I remember something about my nose, and you know that's how you tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile.
Yeah,
so,
it's got a massive snout there. But no, it's all about the seal and balancing the ball on its nose.
Yeah.
Anyway, wood styles. Oh wait, you were talking about that, right? But the thing I did is I ran through custom style twice so I could get 2 custom 2s, and I could just sort of stick them in the corners of the Navi Customizer so that I would have 3 spaces in the center of the grid to put more programs on, and that's just how I ran around the internet, because, like, it worked. It worked because I had access to 10 chips, but then in addition to that, I forgot one style that was introduced for 3 that synergized with the Navi Customizer, the bug style. In order to get the bug style, you had to bug your Navi Customizer and fight a certain number of battles with it to, like, get the style change. And then every time you start a battle with bug style... I'm a whale! I got that wrong, right? Every time you start a battle with bug style, it would choose, like, 2 or 3 bugs, and it would give them to you. Some of them were really good, like, oh, I'm invulnerable for 5 seconds, or, hey, I get a 500 HP barrier. But then there were other ones where, like, yeah, you just immediately move as far as you could possibly move. Like, if I start on the bottom and press up, I'll end up all the way in the top. And then there were other ones where it's like, yeah, your HP is just slowly decreasing in the middle of battle here, or it's slowly decreasing while you're on the custom screen, or your buster locks up every time you fire it. And I'm just like, man. But the nice thing about bug style is it unlocked a program called Bug Stop, which essentially lets you just do whatever you want. After 3, the style system went away, but a lot of the programs that were sort of created out of the style sort of stayed with the Navi Customizer, and the Navi Customizer sort of looks like what it does now, where you just have, like, stay below 4 colors. Extra colors were sort of granted by whatever style you were in at the time in 3. So, say the custom style could equip blue Navi Customizer parts without having an error, whereas the team style could equip green ones without having an error. Shield and words are escaping me. Shield and custom style had the same blue color. Team and I think ground style had green. And then Shadow and Guts had red. So you could sort of mix and match between those groups of styles easier. Hub style did not return in Battle Network 3, unfortunately, because otherwise it would just sort of be the Uber one, but instead you just play with the Navi Customizer and you get a similar effect to it, where you just have 10 chips on the custom style, and you just kind of shrug and say, yeah, this is good enough. Anyway, we're finally at the boss.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Diveman is a bit of a prick. This is the point where I'm starting to feel like my folder is starting to slow me down because it doesn't do enough damage, but Diveman is here, and as you can sort of tell, he has a gimmick where he can hide underneath the water and then pop out to reveal himself. I also love how, like, they just kept his Japanese voice, like, verbal tick of just saying, "Auga!" at the end of any of his sentences. And it's just like, alright, here it is. Auga. So yeah, Diveman. He's a water elemental Navi, as is pretty obvious. So if you had electric-type chips, you could hit him for double damage. I don't have any of them. Also, these torpedoes will come up frequently throughout the fight, and you have to dodge around to avoid the torpedoes. They will constantly harass you, and, like, they start synchronized with how Diveman moves around, but as the fight progresses and you hit Diveman, they will start to desynchronize, and it can get really rough to line up a shot on Diveman while those torpedoes are flying around at you. So, this fight is really rough. And as you can see there, he dived down quick enough to dodge the second air shot. It's not fun. I don't like Diveman. I don't like him at all. Also, you get locked in place long enough that you know, get yourself hit by the other tornado. The big wave attack there is Diveman's sort of trump card. It's his most powerful attack, but it never hits your back row unless you intentionally give it to him, so you should always be safe to it. He has one more attack that he chose not to demonstrate, but otherwise, that's Diveman. He's a prick, and I don't like him. Entirely because of how defensive he is.
Yeah, it's definitely really annoying when you have any sort of enemy whose main gimmick is wait until you can attack me. Like, introducing waiting into a game doesn't really increase the difficulty, it just increases the time that it takes.
Yeah, and besides that, I don't think there are that many good windows of opportunity to counter-hit Diveman for full synchro. Like, I think it's when he throws the wave, and I think it's with his other attack that he didn't show. But otherwise, the torpedoes? Nah. You can't counter-hit him on that. So, also, hey, let's look at the ladder. Nice, there's something on the ladder. Cool. I'll take it. But yeah, there have been a lot of enemies with more defenses in Mega Man Battle Network games in the past, like Snake Man in 2, where he would hide in his pot and be invincible, or Nightman in 2, where he would have like a stone body and take 1 damage from attacks, and then he would unstone and do an attack where he would take full damage, but you had to be standing in front of him to hit him in most cases, where you were in range to get hit.
Or the goddamn genie.
Oh, Cloud Man!
I absolutely hated Mistman.
Yeah. Oh, and there was Mistman too, right. They're different forms of genie. Mistman was kind of interesting because he had Mistman was the lamp, and then, like, the gas would come out of the lamp to become the genie, and the genie itself was Mistman, but you didn't have to hurt Mistman, you had to hurt his, lamp. And the problem is, anytime Mistman moved to a new space, he would pop out of the lamp and block for the lamp itself. So Battle Network 3 had a lot of navies like that where you couldn't attack them directly. You had to sort of indirectly throw around obstacles that would be in your way. So it sort of makes sense within the context of the game that, like, that's a skill that had to be tested, but at the same time it's a little bit rough. Yeah. So, Captain Blackbeard's been tackled by an elephant seal, which, like, it's a good way to break every single bone in his damn body. He totally deserves it, by the way. And yeah, now we have to say goodbye to the penguin. Unfortunately, Plata is still very attached to Mick. But yeah, we get here the story. He fired Blackbeard because he abused the animals, which, like, yeah, I can sort of understand why such a grouchy man would want to take his revenge, but at the same time, like, man, clearly, like, whatever chaos happened in his show, it was not worth it at all. Also, Mick gets... Oh, you first.
Kid.
Yeah. I mean, Mick is a little bit clever on throwing up a distraction, but at the same time, like, I feel a little bit sorry for the fat kid. Just because, like, he was introduced for this game, and just about every time he shows up, he is sort of, like, making a joke, or just doesn't understand something and just equates it to food. But here he is, he's just like, huh? What's going on? Like, yeah.
Although, wasn't he the only one in the school that knew the difference between pelican and penguin?
I can't remember. It's been a couple episodes of recording, but it wouldn't surprise me if he said some other joke, because there's definitely points later on where he mistakes, like, what exactly a pavilion is, and he compares it to an onion. So,
I mean, as long as he's not mixing it up with a gazebo.
Yep. Also, you can see my mouse cursor fly across the screen for a little bit there. Oops. My recording setup currently is running a emulator so I can play this game. And it doesn't record the space where the game is on my screen. It records, like, the center of the screen. So if I ever mouse over the center of the screen, it catches the mouse cursor, which is very strange to me. But I'm not going to question how OBS chooses to work. One of the things I'm tempted to do later on is maybe we should show off the versus mode for this game, you know? Do you still have the cartridge from back in the day?
The physical one?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well,
I lost a lot of my games when my car got broken into a few years back.
Fair enough. Okay. But, like I was saying, I have a capture card. We could just record ourselves, playing the versus mode if we ever, get to that point. But we might have to take advantage of that special project that's sort of meant to recreate NetBattle stuff. And maybe we can show off some of the NetBattle specific programs that way. Maybe. I'd have fun with it, at least.
Yeah, it would be a nice little time to show off.
Yeah, live planning here in the middle of the LP recording. But yeah, we've had a nice day. We come back to Land's bed. It's bedtime already. We're going to save the game. And Thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day, everyone.
See ya.